Morning, good afternoon, or good evening to everybody, teachers and students, or those who are just curious and supporting me on LinkedIn. Thank you very much. We are focusing on not teaching and learning as broadly speaking as my previous video. This, in particular, is focusing on one of the 4 assessment components for the English A Language and Literature program for both higher level and standard level. So if you're a student curious as to how one of your 2 externally assessed papers is, well, delivered and assessed, then you're in the right place. So full disclosure, I am not looking to compete with the IB English guys. I'm not going to present to you a paper 1 and break down the scaffolding of this assessment and then guide you through writing your own. Instead, this should provide you with the basics, something to fuel you with a bit of enthusiasm to enter your English classroom and answer the first question, or multiple throughout the year, because you know what is going on. It's the starting point that we all need. And for me as a teacher, this is something I've been very fortunate purely through networking and communications with members of staff inside and beyond my own school that I've become so familiar with paper 1, because many things the IB expects of you as learners and teachers, it doesn't actually tell you directly. So I'm here to help you. So what is the paper 1 assessment? I'm not providing you with a checklist of what it is, but if anything, it's a window into language, meaning, and interpretation. I would argue the most important and significant component of the IB/DP English A. So, what questions am I going to be answering for you? For starters, what is it? Is there any difference between, pardon me, paper 1, high level and standard level? What is the challenge behind the assessment? What is the structure of a strong paper 1 essay? Can you use the same structure that you applied to your high level essay or your extended essay? What about your individual oral? Paper 2? In actual fact, no, you shouldn't. You can and you may pass, but it's a very simple approach that I'm going to reveal to you to help you succeed far beyond what you could if you adopted a similar essay structure or style to your other essays. And again, we'll look at the introduction, the anatomy of your body paragraphs. And if you're the head of if you're mentoring somebody, or if you're a teacher, I'll give you some teaching tips. Spread success. I'm not protecting any of this knowledge. We're smarter when we work together. So, what is paper 1? Paper 1, it is the first of 2 externally assessed assessments. You'll sit at the end of your 2nd year, grade 12, year 13, and it assesses language. You can see 3 extracts here. It's unseen, which means you're given a non-literary text. For high level, you have 2, and you're asked to write a guided analysis. These texts are drawn from the real world. You may actually have seen one of them before. Unlikely, a possibility. A political cartoon, advertisements, infographics, opinion columns, blog posts, any piece of communication crafted with purpose. The goal, why are you given this paper 1? Is to assess how well you can interpret authorial choices in language and visuals, how the 2 work together to create meaning, to affect the audience. There's a similarity between paper 2, your high level essay, and your IO, always assessing the extent to which the audience is affected. Think of it this way. If paper 2 is about comparison and argument, paper 1 is insight and craft. People have been paid to produce these advertisements, potentially advertisements, or non-literary piece. So you're going to identify what skills they employed and how they created this piece to create what meaning and for whom. So the challenge, why is it difficult? We all know that it's difficult, but why? So, full disclosure, the challenge is twofold. First, no context, no unit, no scaffolded discussion prior to your assessment. Just you, 1 hour, 15 minutes for standard level, 2 hours and 15 minutes for higher level, and your mind. Second, it isn't just comprehension. You're assessed in your ability to notice precise techniques, diction, tone, layout, structure, and explain how they serve a larger purpose. In other words, paper one teaches the kind of critical thinking we want our students to take beyond the classroom. I would, again, refer back to my first comment. This is, for me, what makes it the most important paper within the English A program. How to read a message, not just for what it says, but how and why it says something in a particular way. So rather than raising yes men and women for the world, teaching them to question everything, not critique everything, but question things they're told, so that, well, with all kinds of saturated news that we have, wondering, can I trust this source of information? Is this a problematic piece? Again, who am I to tell you this information? Can I be trusted? Well, that's up to you. And of course, my experience supports this delivery. But again, I encourage you to question, to critique things that you see and how we know what we know. So it ties in very nicely to theory of knowledge, another core component. So, essential components. These are things that I haven't been told directly through a workshop or professional figure of expertise senior to myself. This is from examiners. Things that examiners have been told to look for, not in any textbook, but more FYIs. I'm providing you this information as well. Sustainable Development Goals from the United Nations, no poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being. Try and remember as many of these as you can and mention them in your paper one. Examiners are looking for them, so include it. If you can't, and I implore you not to shoehorn them in, if you can't find a place for the United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals, global issues, and you'll be familiar with these from your individual oral assessment, because that is exactly what the IO is about. So, the structure. I didn't like TAPAC because I didn't think it was memorable enough. Instead, I thought an English teacher with a picture of Tupac Shakur on his wall would be a little more memorable, and it was. So he's staying on my wall. Yes, I do, in fact, have a picture of him in my classroom, because the T stands for text type. Is it a transcript? Is it an advertisement? Is it an infographic? Tell me, utterer. I need a U, so I'm not going for just author, but you need to know who wrote this. Who is it? Are they a historically significant figure, or is it more contextually dependent, which you'll find at the bottom, right at the end of your paper one extract. That's where the context is. Purpose. What's the purpose of this video? For you to treat this as a non-literary piece. Why am I doing this? To celebrate myself? Show off my background? That's what you need to determine. Is it to educate? Is it to inform? Is it to entertain? Is it to bore? Audience. Who am I intending to present this video to? If it is a text about, let's say, environmentalism, is the objective an oil company? If it's environmentalism and it's a new company that's just signed a drilling contract, is that who they intend? Again, it's up to you. If it's about a new play park in a town that's opened, are they targeting 20, 30-year-olds, or could they be targeting families? Is a child going to be reading an advertisement? No. Not in a magazine, no. So they'll target either a man or a woman. Is this a single man? Are they married? Do they have children? Try and provide... Of course, don't go on a tangent, but learn to condense the audience in your mind into one sentence. Who is it targeting? Don't tell me who it isn't targeting, but you'll be able to determine that for yourself. Context, when and where. This is where you can integrate your plan for the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and the global issues. Then another thing I've been told by examiners, thesis statements. You may feel like they're a waste of time. However, they are told to look for thesis statements. So include it. Give them what they want. Do what they want, because they'll reward you with marks. And then, of course, the main body, I'll pick up the pace a little, save boring you. Claim and reason. So what have you seen? Why is it included in this non-literary piece? Evidence. Of course, you need to include evidence from this text. Defend your claim. Technique. It's a language assessment. So what linguistic technique are they applying? These are experts paid to produce an infographic or a political cartoon. So what tricks have they tried to play on their audience? Identify them and reveal it in your assignment. And then the largest piece of your assessment or your paragraphs, the integration of the United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals and or your global issue into your evaluation of this technique's significance. So this is the responsibility of your teacher through assessments to prepare you and guide you through these very components, how to not necessarily tick them off, but you may start with that at the beginning. We need to walk before we can run. And if you get it right 2 years before your external assessment by using it as a checklist, good job, brilliant. Start slowly and build your way up. And then finally, closing your paragraph with the link, returning to your topic sentence. Now, your individual oral assessment, it's not necessarily identical to paper one, but you lose marks if the order of your thesis statement, the 3 components you're going to assess, are not delivered in a similar order. For example, if you say color palette will be the first thing you analyze, and it's the second, you lose points for that. It doesn't matter how well it's written. So however you present it in your introduction's thesis statement, that's the order in which your paragraphs need to be presented. I've had, with success, young learners actually circle or write a subheading saying paragraph 2 or paragraph 3. And I promise you, it did, especially within paper one, lead to more marks being rewarded. And that's the truth. So, teaching paper one, start with thinking, not templates. Yes, there's a time and place for everything, but if you're building your own unit as a teacher or as a young learner, a mentor, for example, begin with real-world media texts, ads, infographics, memes, and ask students, who made this? Who is it for? And what's being said beneath the surface? Suddenly, paper one stops being an exam. It's a lens, a way to understand how meaning is constructed in the world around us. That way, you students, or our students, don't memorize a template, but you develop a mindset so you can apply it to the real world. You become a better version of yourself and more successful when you see your grade. You are going to learn to ask what choices were made, why, and how do they shape meaning. So finally, the closing reflection. What is paper one? It's not just an unseen text. It's a conversation with a message, one where the author speaks through words, images, tone, layout, and structure. Your role, whether you are a teacher or a student, is to listen carefully and respond with insight. Start not with templates, but with questions. Start with real media. Ask, what is this text trying to do? And more importantly, how is it trying to do it? That is paper one.